Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Boring Show. I'm Fitz, and here with me is Craig. Craig, you are both a new and an old face to see on The Boring Show. Who are you, and where have you come from?
Well, I came this way by way of Google Cloud, where I've been for the last while, and I was working on Fuchsia before that. But yeah, I was lucky enough to host some Boring Show adventures about 600 years ago before something happened all around the world. But I'm excited to be back.
Yeah, excellent. And so one of the things that I was hoping that we could do together, there's a to-do somewhere here in our Hacker News app about creating some new theming. And in particular, an old version of this app, if we look over here, had this use dark mode setting. It's the only setting in the app. There's no other setting here. And we click on that and the app crashes, apparently. Nice. So it's kind of buggy. And I thought it'd be kind of interesting if we tried to figure out what was going on there and maybe provide some options to update some of these colors. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds good. We might even splurge and wrap that in a center widget. What do you think?
Well, make the settings page actually look decent instead of just way off in the corner with this tiny text. No padding. Look at that. There's no padding up this corner.
You need a map to find it. Yeah, let's do it. No, I think that sounds great.
Okay.
It's not a very customizable app yet, but in an hour, maybe it will be.
Yeah. And I'm curious to start off with if we have any kind of, is this the error that comes from that message?
Yeah, I'm trying to see unsupported previously. Ooh. What? When the widget tree doesn't count the value to fix, right? Okay. Oh. So I think
interesting.
We have
tried to listen to a value. Oh, value exposed from outside of the widget tree. So yeah, maybe if we try to track down what this toggle button is where it appears in the code.
Yeah, interesting. So I presume this worked on the episode that created it, or do you happen to know if it maybe ended with
that was so long ago. I don't know. It might have ended with a
we'll get it next time.
Fix this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't know if it ever worked, which would be, that would give us something to go on, but we'll have to start from scratch. So yeah, one thing, this is where the providers are coming in, okay? And
and I vaguely remember this from a past episode where this prefs notifier thing pulls in preferences from shared preferences. And so the dark mode, whether that's set or not, comes from there. And it's just a bunch of setting and getting of the Booleans for this provider. But that's not where this toggle click is happening.
Yeah, I suppose let's start tracking it through from the UI layer. I didn't make out from the error message exactly who is complaining. So I'm not sure if it's, let's see here. So this seems to be being thrown by provider. Am I reading this right?
Yeah, and I think this is, so somewhat recently, Philip and I upgraded all of the dependencies of this app, trying to make it null safety. Uh-huh. And this listen false flag in the provider is something that was, not recent anymore, but in comparison to when this was originally written, was a fairly recent addition to provider to make sure that it doesn't have this active event handler being called. So we're probably missing this listen false somewhere.
I see. Okay. All right. So now would that be in, there was a data class that we were just looking at. It seems like some of this logic does actually live outside of just the UI layer, which is great. But I'm wondering if it's in there.
Maybe. So here is that wonderful uncentered. Maybe we can start off with as long as I don't miss, wrap this in a center. Which it's not gonna. This is in a column, so let's do do some basic formatting here.
Yeah, are we even rebuilding right now? Oh, we are. Nice, great.
We are. It's
yeah, I didn't know if the previous error had tanked us.
I think we're okay. Oh, that's not gonna work. We'll have it. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
That's gonna need some padding and some spacing and whatnot. So, so we have this switch here. We have our use dark mode. We have our switch, and on changed, it just sets the new value.
Yeah, and the function. Oh, it says provider of. So we've got those, they're all over the place. And I wonder if it's either line 29 or 31 of this file is potentially where it's talking about. Maybe 29.
Yeah, let's see if there's any.
Although it crashed when you clicked it, so that would suggest 31.
31
inside the handler.
I mean, it could be either or both, because this is the value of the switch is based on the change that happens there. So maybe we do both. Listen.
Oh, you know what? It makes sense. Just thinking about this, right? You wouldn't want to create a subscription when you submit a new event. Listen false actually might make sense on line 29. We'd have to read the new provider docs to be sure.
Yeah.
But it really makes sense that it would be a mistake on line 31, which now we've been reformatted away. But I'm optimistic that we have at least a 10% chance that this will work.
I think at least a 10%. Percent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right, because with line 32 being a setter, not a getter, essentially, we really don't want to be listening. So, that's the switch toggled without an error.
Amazing.
Okay, so I don't know if it's success, but it's at least something. Ooh, look at that.
It's so much darker.
And now where did all of our stories go? So our
they were here.
We've lost our stories that were previously here. I don't know how that happened.
I'm starting to think this app is not production ready.
What? I don't. What are you talking about? This app is ready to ship to the App Store.
I think we've got work to do. I don't know. I disagree.
But hey, the menu at least.
Yeah. And
responds to.
We're not here to actually read Hacker News. We're here to work on some theming. So.
Exactly. And this works. I can toggle it back and forth. And it seems to flip between. Oh, when I'm in light mode, our stories are here. Okay, well, that's
I wonder if it's just a color issue, if it's still like a white on white issue. That would seem to be
interesting.
But let's.
Yeah, that could be. Because it could be updating the text, but not updating the background of the list tiles or something.
Yeah, if the theme just kind of that we're using, I'm not sure what dark theme we're using, but if it doesn't have completely thought through values, maybe.
Yeah, because it's setting the brightness and the canvas color based on the dark mode.
Okay, yeah, and then
the primary
scaffold background color and primary color both
is just set
being
to the
same. I'm not going to lie. I'm not. Oh.
Yeah. So both the primary and scaffold background color are hard coded to white. So that's probably what's going on there. But the menu bar, which was set from further down here somewhere, scaffold app bar, which has somewhere in here, down here, bottom nav bar. is set to black just always, but then we have the drawer. So the drawer, I don't think we set the color at all. So the drawer is automatically picking up the light dark mode.
Makes sense.
Just by nature of how it was built with material. But then everything else is white. So well, this is why we're here, right? Is to try to figure out these color schemes.
So this doesn't, line 53 has no future with us, right? The whole idea of saving this color as white, independent of any of the settings, that is just a relic of an earlier draft, right? We can get rid of that entirely, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to leave it for the moment, but we're going to call it refactor into theme settings.
Yes.
That's what we're doing right now.
Right. So we can get right to this to-do, or do you have something in mind to do first?
That's what I was going for first.
Okay.
Was just this. And luckily, because we just discovered this with the dark mode, this prefs notifier already has a little bit of the provider infrastructure that we might want to add in order to do this, right? Because we've got, I mean, in theory, we'd have the settings page and have, I don't know, a color palette or something to choose from and save that. And we have the provider to do that, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think so. So why don't we first get just the light and dark mode working correctly so we can actually read articles in dark mode. And I think what's the problem is that the scaffold background color was staying at white. So we know the primary color, that should become white in dark mode. So you have a dark background and white text. But we also locked in the scaffold background to be white. And that set us up for a hard time. So if we create a new...
Do you see any problem? Oh, go ahead. If we create a new what?
A new color variable in the build method, then I think we can start to set things a bit more dynamically.
What do we want to call this? Like canvas color or background color?
That's a good question. Background color, that seems good to start.
We could also call it the primary color if we're getting rid of this.
Yeah, that I think is about right. And then thinking ahead, you've mentioned some sort of color picker or color palettes available. Those may also be represented as a primary color. And so we're going to, right now, I think, have color primary just be white or black based on the current preference.
On this dark mode, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But in the future, that might come from the result of the color picker.
Yeah. And with my text this big, it's hard to understand what the wrapping is doing. But I think we also want to do the listen false here as well.
Well, I don't know.
We're just trying to get the point.
Oh, it is a one-off.
We're just trying to get the point in time. Yeah. So is that set? If so, let's do, I don't know, let's just try colors black first. Is that what you had suggested?
I think that makes sense.
Colors white. Okay. We'll save, get some formatting. And then we don't need to change much else because the primary color variable is already used down here in the primary color and the background color.
Yeah. Now I do wonder if primary color and scaffold background color being the same value is ever safe, but we can read things in light mode now. So I guess. All right, great.
Look at that. Okay, so you were right. The text was white, the star was white, the little arrow thing was white, and so when it was all on a white background, of course, it was gone.
Yeah. It's funny if
progress.
If everything's the same color, suddenly your network layer breaks.
Oh my gosh.
We've all been there.
Oh yeah. So yes. Something seemingly totally unrelated actually changes everything.
Right.
I wanted to look and see if there's any kind of documentation or help indicating what scaffold.
To me, it's
default.
primary color that's a little mysterious because, I mean, scaffold background color kind of describes itself.
Yeah.
But primary color, that's
and
a lot of pressure.
Especially since it was also set to white, because I think
right.
I might have thought that primary color was, the app bar color or something like that.
Yeah, hopefully we find a good doc string. Oh, there it is.
There it is. Background color for major parts of the app. Toolbars, tab bars, etc. There you go. So the theme's color scheme contains...
So is that potentially like the color of the back button?
Oh, maybe. Or maybe the icons are probably controlled by the just icon being in white or black, because I think those are the only two major colors for the icons. But I'm curious here if we just like set this to blue or something arbitrary and see what changes. Ooh, look, there you go.
Okay.
The app bar has changed.
It's not the background of the app bar. Yes, it's the app bar itself.
Yeah.
Now, did we ever have a white app bar? Well, we did when the whole screen was white.
So if we turn dark mode off, then
we'd have a white. Okay, all right, that all makes sense.
Yeah.
And this is great too, because when we introduce some color picker or maybe just preset colors, kind of leave the color picker to an exercise of the imagination, we'll just get one color out of that and we'll be able to store it in this spot. And it'll be interesting to see how that works and if there are any other tweaks that we have to make as we go along here.
Right. Because there might be, for example, like how does this blue show up with the comment count here and the top stories? It'd be good to make sure that those are reasonably high contrast. It's starting to blend in here, so we might want to choose a different blue for, I don't know where those are set actually.
Well, I think this is going to use the infamous color palette from Swatch method, of which I'm very unfamiliar. But and we're just passing in primary.
I know
color.
the words you're saying, but yes. Let's go look. Does this app bar has its?
Well, this may be it. I think this riddle will be answered wherever the default theme is constructed.
Okay.
So where we originally supply our this theme data. So we're passing in the brightness and then the canvas color. So I think we want to look in the theme data class.
Okay.
And in here, we can maybe check out a constructor or there's probably many constructors.
Yeah, likely. But there's like this primary swatch blue.
Yes, this I think is...
Which is actually a collection of blues rather than just a single.
Right. Yes, I think this is starting to be this is a breadcrumb, I think.
Yeah. Because you were talking about the color scheme potentially. There's something in a color scheme, right? Where we can maybe create our own color scheme.
Yeah.
There's these primary, secondary. This might be too much. You said something about a swatch?
There it is.
From Swatch.
Yes. And so we can see here.
Create a color scheme.
Right, yes. And it takes at a minimum just one color. And we'll find out together how clever it gets with maybe applying some gradients to fill in unsupplied colors. But at a minimum, it seems to just take one color and may fill in the others. So here's our...
Yeah, it does look like it might do that. And so I'm curious then if the theme data has a constructor that just takes a scheme, a color scheme.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Or if one of the options here is there like a scheme that we can give it? Color scheme. So we could set the color scheme and then, what was it? Color scheme from swatch.
Yes. Yeah. Primary color.
And then primary color was primary swatch? Takes a material color.
Yeah, I think primary swatch is what we were looking at because the parameter type was a material color.
Yeah, and so what kind of material colors do we have?
Well,
is this a thing that we can know? Okay.
I think color may be a material color, but now we're getting into stuff I haven't thought about in a long time.
Oh, so like is colors...
Yeah, if we hop into that function, I think we might...
Which function? The from swatch?
Yes.
Ooh, the example, I think, gives us a hint here in the docs.
Right, it just says colors.blue.
Material color primary swatch equals colors.blue. Yeah, so maybe material color is a subclass or something of... I'm curious now. What are you? What are you, material color?
Yeah, who's the parent of
extends color swatch, which is color. Okay, so we're all just colors.
Yeah,
it's very colorful here.
Color triangle. Everybody's got something on someone else. Okay, so at a minimum...
Exactly.
Here's a thought for how we can explore having some theming here. There's kind of two components to this that I see. Exactly. You're thinking exactly what I'm thinking, though we apparently don't yet understand this constructor fully. But
no, of course.
On the one hand, there's selection of colors, and that's probably an exercise with a color picker package, of which there are presumably at least one that are good. The second one is saying, all right, I've gotten a color, maybe it's a user-generated color, and now I need to build a coherent theme. And I suspect that that's really the interesting part, because we've already got in here persistence of some data. We can put a color in there. We've got provider listening to changes and redrawing the app. That's good. What I think might be interesting now is to just pick some random colors and make themes that look good.
Okay. I mean, I'm not a designer, so it might not look objectively good, but we can at least try to see where it goes.
Good call. Heavy air quotes around good. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. First off, what was this error that I was getting? Failed assertion, color scheme brightness has to be...
Did we comment that out? I didn't catch that detail. No, it's still there.
So it looks like there's more than just the primary color required. Failed assertion. So it's asserting that...
So let's pop back over to the from swatch constructor, because I think that is part of our problem here. Oh, well, brightness has a default.
Oh, so our brightness... Oh yeah, it does. It's curious that we have both the assert that it's not null and it has a default, and we didn't set any brightness here.
Right, we certainly didn't pass in null. Okay, so why don't we look at the stack trace and we'll actually see which line is barking. What was it, that assert? Are we sure? Like the theme data 316.
New theme data. Well, that's given to us. Main.art 47. Oh, wait.
Yeah, I think theme data 316 is the line that's actually complaining.
Let's go look. Colors. That's our assert.
So it says
So where did
me
we come
brightness is not.
from?
Oh, I see. Watson, I've got it. So what's happening is the default value that we are passing into the swatch is just light because that's the default value in that constructor. And that must match the other brightness in the rest of the theme. But we must be in dark mode right now, and so they're not matching. You can see there it says me.brightness or scheme.brightness must equal brightness, which is like the other value. So what I think we want to do, where we capture the brightness value, we should also store that in a variable. And we do that on line 70.
Yeah, right.
Something.
Right.
Oh, right there.
Right here. Well, it's.
Yes. No. You're on.
Yeah, it's set right here.
Yep. So if we pull that out and put it in a variable.
Let's pull that out. Let's call it, I don't know, brightness.
It's far out.
And then bright. That's just its own type, right? Yeah. Brightness.
I think so. Yep.
Brightness equals what I copied. And then, so while we're here, let's put this to a listen false as well. We can probably pull this whole provider of thing out into its own thing too. Trying to get this user dark mode into its own thing rather than having to pull provider every time. And then we have our brightness. Let's save.
And we'll also want to add that to right there. Yes.
Right there. Brightness.
All right. This is all a bit of conjecture, but nice.
It's really hard to see. I'm going to get real close to the camera. Is that star and that arrow? Oh, the comments are easier to see. So the comment text is the amber. So that comment, whatever, I don't know, headline 4 or subtitle 2 or whatever it's set to, is getting that primary color. I'm curious that the tab title up here didn't change. It's still that blue.
Okay. Oh, so why don't we also comment out lines 80? I wonder if we need lines 80 and 81. I would like to not need them for what it's worth. I would like to pass in a color scheme and have those kind of work themselves out. I wonder if we've been overriding values.
Yeah, so it looks like, so notice how I'll pull out the primary color again. That changed our tab bar, and Material is doing a nice animation between the colors for us here. But so the color swatch, given the amber color as the primary, has this like light grayish thing. What if our primary is white? Oh, I can't do that. That's not a valid material color. Uh-oh. What's a valid material color? Gray?
White is not a valid material color. That's some...
Well, because remember, primary swatch had this type of material color. And so colors.blue is a collection of colors, as is amber.
And white certainly couldn't be a collection of colors. Somebody paid attention.
There's only one white, apparently.
Yeah. Weird. All right.
Yeah, totally weird.
So
okay, but we're getting closer, right?
Yeah. So I have to confess, I've got a pretty big reflection on your emulator. So as the colors change, if it's subtle, I basically miss it. You'll have to narrate for me.
Fair enough. So what I just tried to do is... I want to figure out this app bar because the tab top stories was blue still. So if I have it in dark mode, the top stories title up here on the top of the app bar is kind of this faint blue. And when I change dark mode off, now our app bar is like bright blue again, right? Because our primary color isn't. I don't know. It's still something up here is setting it to blue on our
Yeah.
behalf.
So that's also a mystery we can track down. So why don't we just click into the app bar widget wherever we actually make one? Can control click into.
Yeah, I think we do it a couple of times.
I see.
And
right.
so we've got. I think this one is the one that we want. This is the actual homepage.
That headline widget was also interesting. I don't know if that was for the homepage.
Well, so it's getting the name of the tab, which is going to be. Let's put this back to dark so we can actually see this. So it's top stories here, and then it's going to be new stories here. Oh, it changed. Oh my gosh, it's orange now. And now it's blue with the top stories. What is going on? I'm confused by that.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
But it's supposed to be just getting the name of it and
all right,
so what is this headline?
Yeah, is this implicitly animated widget? Ooh, nice.
Interesting. Headline text colors are blue and deep orange. Okay, so they're hard-coded. That's where this is happening.
And this is code that we wrote.
Yeah, this is headlines widgets. This is in this is in our own.
This must harken back to
code.
an older episode where this animation was the MacGuffin.
Yeah, like it looks cool because we've got this ghost fade tween is tweening between different colors. So it's I guess trying to show that I know you have a reflection on the screen, but for our watchers, our viewers, the top stories here in the app bar, we switch it to the new stories. It does this color shift, which is kind of neat. That's what this code is responsible for. And so I guess our question for today is then, can we not hard code these and base them off of the color swatch, right?
Yeah, so I've been thinking about it. We're basically trying to build a city literally in the middle of a bunch of ruins because previous ruins is negative.
No offense to previous coders.
Right. And this implicitly animated widget is very cool. But its whole point is to transition between colors. And yet, as we now set out to think about a holistic theme, it's very unlikely that this widget would continue to animate. That seems like it was an academic exercise. Potentially.
I mean, it just, if we look at the tween, it's just, because color as a class, or I guess it was written here, is able to, it's just a numeric value at some point, right? It's just a hex code. And so it's able to do a lerping between two colors with white in the middle. And so my theory is that we could give it two arbitrary colors and it should do the animation.
Oh, yes.
Reasonably.
Yes, I agree with that. I'm wondering where from a holistic theme what would make that color change to continue to animate? Do you know, am I using words that are making sense?
They're totally foreign to me. I'm not sure when you say.
Let's go back to the headline.
Just
let's go back to the headline widget where that's used. I think it was in main.
Where it's used.
So actually used is unhelpful. Well, in the future, we are going to, let's say we've got a really great theme setup in our app. And we come back to this point and we say, how should headline work now? Well, the first question is, does our great theme setup continue to imply that this should change colors? Because normally, I suspect that this would be basically your theme's primary color across every tab.
Yeah.
And so now our theme, and maybe we could say that on index 0, it's primary theme, it's current theme.primary color. And on index 1, it's current theme.secondary color. But that is already a bit of a creative relationship with themes.
Yeah, could we, maybe this is a bit of a hard coding because we only have 2 tabs and we don't know how many there will be in the future. I don't know, probably still just 2, but maybe we pull in the favorites as a third tab rather than a totally separate page. I'm talking about in the drawer, you have this favorites thing, which hopefully is not actually broken. I think I just broke it. Let's restart. But one thing we could try to do right now maybe is to say, let's have the first tab, index 0, be the primary color. So that would be, well, it would have to be dependent on the brightness. So whichever way it goes, we could then have the second tab be what is that called? The complementary color, just the opposite color inverted.
Oh,
not necessarily inverted, but
some
maybe. Whatever. Yeah.
I don't know.
That's auto-calculated.
Yeah. Do you know how to go from one color to its complementary color? Is that an API that's exposed?
I have no idea.
Nice.
Let's figure that out. So when we look at colors, and because there's all sorts of things, there's lots of things in the colors class, different shades of black, and let's go look at the colors blue. Because for example, the blues are, this collection, and I'm wondering, so use theme of rather than hard coding colors. Oops.
They tried to warn us.
They did. The docs tried to warn us, and yet...
If only we'd read them.
So maybe there's not just one in the colors. Do we have any helpful methods or anything in colors? No, it's just literally the colors. That's fine.
So what if we just go with index 0 being theme of context dot primary color, and index 1 be theme of context secondary color.
Okay.
And that may or may not make sense, but that would also imply, let's say you really wanted that in your app. It would still be good to derive those from the theme, and you would then need to start thinking about how you construct your theme to accommodate the fact that you want to move colors in this way from tab to tab, and that you want to accommodate dark mode. And so I think we'll actually be on a fairly realistic path if we go in that direction.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm just trying to figure out where to make that change, because right now this is a hard-coded constant in this headlines thing.
Oh, yeah. Let's just bring that into the widget, I would say, into the build method of the widget.
It's like right here where we've got... where was that? It's because it sets it. So we set our target color here, which is based on whatever index we're given.
Yes, and then it animates to that. So right, that's the method
for each. And it's getting. What is this part of the? Yeah, the headline state.
So if target color, the property getter, became a method and it accepted context and thus loaded up the current theme and returned either the primary or secondary color, then I think the errors would just lead us to all the places where we need to put parentheses around, target, or at the end of target color.
So you're proposing something like this, still on the widget, or would it be on the state?
Was that class a widget, or was it a state-like class?
So we can do that. Well, so it was doing widget.target color. So it was getting the target color from the headline widget.
Yes. Yeah, this is a widget. So I think line 10, we could turn that into a method. And then once that's a method, then yes, now how you've got line 38 or whatever it was written, that should then work.
Yeah. So then we're taking a build context.
Yeah.
And
it's all coming together.
Right. And this is just our first attempt is to make this work.
I see. Yep.
Still waiting on this hot restart to catch up. But do we have any error? Doesn't look like we have any errors, which is fine. This is all a pretty small self-contained.
Okay. Good stuff.
Widget. Okay. And so then the idea is that instead of this, we're not going to do our headline text colors. We're just going to remove that. And say, let's see, if our index is 0, let's return theme.of_context. And then primary color.
Perfect.
And then otherwise we want the theme of context of our, what did you say, secondary? Oh, there's an accent color.
Yeah, accent sounds great.
Is also known as the secondary color. It contrasts well with the secondary color. Okay. Let's try that. And save to get that.
That didn't make any sense to me.
I'm still building, apparently. It's just taking its time.
Why don't we also, since we have just implicitly required there to be only 2 indices, put an assert in this target color for a future episode when they add another another tab. Yeah, perfect.
Can assert take a message? Index is 2.
Well,
I don't know if there's a variation of assert that has a.
Oh, assert. No, not index equals 2. Assert index less than 2.
You're right. Yes.
But the comment will be the message. So I think that's good.
Okay. Still waiting on this thing to catch up. It's the problem with trying to record multiple things and all this. But
I think this hot restart has gone cold.
Yeah, we're gonna just kill it. Exited. We'll just get rid of that.
See you later.
Rebuild. So when I did a build before the show, it took a little bit of time, and I think that was because I was sharing my screen and things. So while we're waiting for that, I want to look to see maybe what I'm going to open up a docs window. I want to see if there are any packages that can help us with finding and building color swatches.
Oh, what a great question.
So I'll leave that on the side so we can see if it comes back up.
That's already suspiciously helpful.
Yeah, this is kind of what we were talking about with maybe creating the invert or
right.
So what does this do? Usage. We can create RGB colors, hex colors, XYZ colors. I don't know what an XYZ color is.
Yeah, me either.
Created directly from CSS3 color names. That's nice. I like that. So this looks more, what is, okay, so we can create the grayscale versions using a color filter.
Yeah, I would bet
cool.
some money that what we want will be here. If they can convert something into a grayscale, then they can probably do anything that's, well, there's invert.
There you go. There's the invert. Yeah, or the darken. Now is the percentage specified or 10%. Lighten, sepia.
Let's do invert. It might not look good.
Invert.
But it's going to be ours.
Okay. Yeah. And hey, our stack trace has appeared in the in here. Failed assertion. This is not true by the rendering library. Error causing widget was that app bar, which depends on an inherited widget called before headline before init state was completed. Oh, because I know what we did.
We passed the context before it was ready.
Yep. So this
I failed you.
Wait, I think so this target color isn't called before this for each tween. Where? Oh, it's an override as part of the base state. Ooh, so okay, this, I wonder if for each tween gets called before init state then. Because I think doing our trying to get the theme here. So it's trying to pull from the context, and this is complaining, right? So we were trying to pull from an inherited theme before init state was completed.
Yes. All right. I have a new thought. It's a really wonderful thought. It's not going to introduce any tech debt at all.
Oh, yeah, sure. I love these.
Right.
I love where this is going.
This is going to be super good. Before we go to production, we'll have an actual splash screen on this app. So,
whoa.
Yeah, it's on the to-do list.
Okay.
You'll find it. And that will definitely take care of the context being ready before anyone starts switching tabs. So for now, why don't we just check to see if the context is null or whatever it is before it's ready, and then just pick a color, like white.
If it's not ready.
The only thing is I'm not actually sure how to check if it's ready, which will be another learning exercise. I don't know if it's just null or... Now, to be clear, I think this will need to go in the target color function.
Right.
But let's just put a break statement in there, a debug, the old red dot.
Yeah. Let's look at what happens.
Oh no, did you click the red square? Oh, you didn't. Nice.
No, I didn't. I did not click. So here's our context.
Okay, and this should be the first pass through, so it should be unready.
Yeah.
So I don't know what any of these do, which is a great start. I think we can safely skip anything with the underline.
Yeah. I wonder if we can look at dirty true. I think...
Ooh, render object is null. That seems... I don't know if it's going to change to be not null, but build context is part of the render element, render object layer. So if that's null, that could be a first pass thing.
Yeah, I think one of the dirty or render object ones could be our useful things. I want to try moving on to the next one, which...
Well, it's going to error, right? Before we get there.
Yes, it did.
Got to do this the old-fashioned way.
Shouldn't it be what, print statements?
That's one of the valid old-fashioned ways. Yep.
I'm curious why my break isn't happening. Oh, I guess because yeah, you're right. It crashes before then. That's why we have no title up here.
No, I don't think prints will even answer our question because we'd need to see a difference between the first and second pass. So we just have to pick one attribute and write an if statement on that. And then, of course, alternately, we could like read documentation and stuff, but that's obviously
yeah,
wild
exactly.
idea.
I mean, I think a more correct answer. Well, yeah, no. Let's keep going with this one and see where it goes. I think we can just reorder things in a different way and try to not do the target color in as part of this for each tween. But let's explore this context thing.
Yeah, even if it's hacky for this current situation, which it definitely is, it does.
Oh yeah, 100% is definitely
right. But I think it's going to be educational regardless, because I don't know.
Terrible name. But we want to say,
yeah, if context dot, and we've got a couple candidate attributes.
That, and then if, and you were, let's try what you were saying first. The dot render object. I don't know if we can get the direct. I don't know if we have access to that. That field isn't defined. Why was it giving us? So where I was looking is we don't actually have access to that render object field on the context.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Didn't see that coming. So.
Yeah. So I can show you. You can just render object's not there. Won't let me.
Okay. How about widget? If it's the first time through, widget might even be empty. I don't remember what that was when we were in the debugger a moment ago.
Yeah, because there's the context.widget, which is...
Oh, it says it's non-nullable, so that's not going to help. Because what was the widget? I guess we can come back here, breakpoint, put this back. The actual widget was defined as the headline. Yeah, so the doc string also said that it was not nullable, so that would be unhelpful.
Yeah.
So
because really what we actually want is for this context to be usable to get a color, right?
Right.
And so I want to go look at the animated widget base state, animated widget. I want to see, because it was an implicitly animated widget. what its docs recommend for the state. I'll consider using an animated widget.
Well,
so
you know
which
what?
properties is left of the subclasses must provide a way. Is it the relevant? Okay.
So I have a thought, Andrew.
Okay.
We are no longer making a theme.
True.
Our theme efforts bumped into some older development to have this implicitly animated widget. And taking a step back, I suspect that is why they hard-coded 2 colors, because they didn't want to use the context and look at the theme. So maybe we can just leave the headline be, and it will be non-compliant with whatever theme we come up with, and we'll have to live with that for now. And answer any other interesting questions about the theme, or kind of put our brains back in that direction.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm going to back this out. Let's maybe comment this and say, to do something like this to get the headlines color. In the meantime, we're just going to return.
We could potentially just git check out this file.
Oh my gosh, just totally reset it. That's
declare bankruptcy.
Wild. Lib source widgets headline go. We've reset.
Yeah, I think this.
Now we're back to that.
I think this is the right call, and we can return to main and think about any other more theming related questions that we want to conquer today.
Yeah. What do you think we should conquer?
Well,
theming wise, because we could go all the way to saying, in the settings page, we could say, let's add another option in the settings page, which is to choose a color.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And try to integrate that into the prefs notifier here.
Sure. How are we on time, by the way? Do you know?
We are narrowing in on an hour, so we've got maybe a couple minutes left. So we might not actually have time to do that one. Maybe what we should just end or look at saying is, we've got this pref notifier that has our dark mode in it, and we use that, of course. But something we could also add in here is to have where to go. This color swatch, just setting the color to amber. This colors.amber should probably be in this prefs provider, right?
But
rather
even
than being hard coded here.
Yeah, but even that is really a provider and a local preferences type of task. I think we've hit an hour, and we've bumped up against some of the old fossils of this app, earlier generations of coders that came through, of which we are both members of those earlier generations. But
very true.
Yeah, I think since we're at time, I think it's probably appropriate to wrap up soon. If you're comfortable wiring this through, then we'll at least have something to show for our efforts here.
Yeah. It should be pretty quick to add this in to show, to at least get this not hard-coded anymore, right? That's my goal right now.
Gotcha. Nice. Yeah.
And then this current prefs is a pref state, which then has a primary color. Why is that? Oh, I see. No, I did set it. What am I doing? What am I doing wrong? Why is this
Well, what does the underline say? Can't be returned.
Oh, right. That's a copy pasta error.
Love it.
Yeah, I had the type set to bool, not color. So then we'd be able to can do the same. I'll try not to mess up the color, the the typing. But we can just do some copy pasta there to get our setter. We've got our getter, and we'll have to do a load. That one, I'll have to double check. We'll have to see what the shared prefs can do. I think we'd be able to put in just a numeric value, just like a get ent or something for the color. But for now, let's add another to-do, because nothing can go wrong with adding more to-dos, right?
No, they're like the IOUs of development. This one's worth 250,000. Yep. I want to hang on to that.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got that, and then we should be able to copy that, paste it in there, and instead of user dark mode, we have our primary color.
And it's upset about us in
color, not a material color.
Yes, it doesn't know that we have chosen a color that is also a material color. Because remember, white is a color, but not a material color.
Yeah, so I think we want to have this be of type colors, because that's where our full color swatches come from. If we have, and that was where material color was able to be
I think it should be a material color.
Okay. Yeah, we can make that a material color everywhere. Material color. That should make that go away, and then that should make that happy.
Yep.
Okay.
There we are. Nice.
Now this is going to be building forever, so I think it's just probably going to have to be stopped and rebuilt. But that'll probably take longer than the remaining time that we have. Is there anything else you wanted to cover before we close it out?
I don't think so. The app is looking better and better.
Slowly but surely. It's been, I don't know how long since the app was first started, but it's getting there. It's making progress.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me, Craig, on this episode of The Boring Show. And thank you to all of our viewers who have been with us for this whole hour. And we'll see you on the next one.